Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to 2021 and our first Meet the Artist broadcast of the new year. My name is Tommy Hensel, and I am the director of the Performing Arts Center at Moraine Valley Community College. Moraine Valley is located in Palos Hills, Illinois. Palos Hills is a southwestern suburb of Chicago. Like everyone, for the past 10 months, our theater has been dark. We've done no live performance for an audience. We did have a few live streams in the fall of our academic music ensembles, and we will do that again, but no audiences since March of last year. So, early on in the pandemic, we thought about how do we stay connected to the world, to our audience when we don't have shows going on. So we thought about creating a web series, which is what this is. My idea was to get in touch with artists who have appeared on our stages in the past several years, people that have been very popular, but that you might not know except for what you see on the stage. And so this Meet the Artist series is a way for us to actually have a nice in-depth conversation with people to get to know them a little bit better, not just as artists, but as human beings. So one of the things that excited me about my job a number of years ago is that we have two major theater spaces. We have a 600-seat proscenium theater, the large standard theater where we do our big touring shows. But the theater, we also have a black box theater. And black box theaters, by their very nature, are big, empty, dark rooms that you can configure in almost any way that you want. And it's perfect for our academic theater programs because they can experiment with different configurations of directing and staging. But for me, I looked at that space for a number of years and then suddenly have this idea, why not see if we could duplicate the feeling of a traditional cabaret club? So what we did is we created what we call a Sunday Salon series. In that space, we put a 12 by 16 foot stage raised up. We surround the stage with 7 round tables, each seating 6 people, so we can get 42 people at the tables. And then a series of risers beyond that. We can put an additional 82 theater seats there, so we can seat 124 people in the space. So what we have done is created this Sunday Salon series where we pick a Sunday afternoon, we do 2 different performances of the same show so we can get as many people as possible in. And my idea was always and continues to be focusing on those cabaret artists who are local to us, people who live and work primarily in the Chicagoland area. We didn't know if it would be successful or not, but we decided to give it a shot. So we tried it. It's now been going for 7 years. It was obviously successful. And I've had a chance to highlight some of the most amazing performers in the Chicagoland area. So I'm very thrilled for this broadcast tonight and for the next 3 after this. We're going to be doing every other week this semester. I'm highlighting cabaret artists from the Chicago area that have either been on our stage before or who are coming later, as soon as possible as our seasons begin again. And tonight's Meet the Artist broadcast is one of those performers who has both been many times in our space, but will hopefully, fingers crossed, be coming up soon. So please welcome our tonight's broadcast, one of my very dear friends and an amazing cabaret performer, Marianne Murphy Orland. Hey, Marianne.
Hello, Tommy. Nice to see you.
You too. I'm so excited to be back to this Meet the Artist series after a pretty big hiatus. We had a couple in December, but of course we took the holidays off.
Yes, so it's a great series. I've enjoyed watching them.
Well, thank you. And I enjoyed doing them. It was a little tough at the beginning to figure out all the technology because I'm sitting alone in my apartment for 10 months. And in fact, tonight I'm beaming into the internet from my home in Berwyn. And where are you tonight?
I'm in Winfield, lovely Winfield, which is to city folks that get a nosebleed if they get if they get west of Pulaski. We're just west of Wheaton and just north of Naperville.
Okay. Yep. And I'm due west of the city. So we're
love
both,
Berwyn.
It's a great town. I've never been to your town, but when the pandemic is over, I'll come visit.
Please do.
Yeah. So for all of the people who are tuning in tonight who don't know The Moraine Valley is in the southwest suburbs, and so a lot of us who live and work and perform in the Chicago area don't live in the city itself. Actually, many of us are suburbanites, so yay for the suburbs. So Marianne is joining us tonight because she has been a frequent performer on our stage with a group called Girls Like Us, but also is coming up with a solo performance. So we're going to certainly dive into all of that. One of the things that Marianne and I talked about earlier today was Cabaret itself. And so I'm going to start out with a question for you. People are constantly asking me, what is Cabaret? Because the word is thrown out all the time. And so for you, when somebody that doesn't really understand the art form and you say, hey, I'm doing a cabaret show, and they say, what is that? What's your explanation for cabaret?
I think it's I generally say it's an intimate art form. It's not really a concert. It's not really a play. It's really it's a story. It's music and conversation that typically tells a story, either about the body of work of a particular composer or a particular lyricist, but it really gives you an opportunity to relate to the audience one-to-one. I mean, there's real relating with the audience. There's no fourth wall, and to tell a story that kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end, relates the artist or the work of the artist to your own life. So yeah, I think it's conversation and music to tell a story. That was a long answer to a short question.
No, it's a great. And whenever I see a comment, I'm going to have to put on my glasses briefly to read it. One of your fans, Sheila Donovan, says, "Marianne, you're the best." So you got a nice comment. And Patty Olbert, who's one of our patrons at the theater, thank you, Patty, for tuning in tonight. I miss you too. I want to be back. It's funny because Marianne, I say the same thing. One of the things I tell people about cabaret, because as you know, I work as a cabaret performer sometimes as well, is that it's this intimate style where everybody in the audience should feel like you are singing to them.
Right.
It really should feel like a personal connection. And I always feel like it's someone should leave a performance feeling like they are your friend.
Yes.
That they now know you in a way that
it's the ultimate. Yes. When a fan says, or someone who's been in the audience says, wow, I felt like you were singing straight to me. And I never thought about the words to that song before like that. You've hit a home run, or what's the one in hockey? God, I used to be such a big hockey fan. The hat trick, when you made them laugh, cry, learn something, and feel like you are their friend. That's when you've had a massive success, regardless of how much money you made on it or how many butts there were in seats. You really feel like you had a good day at work when that happens.
And I think that's why so many of us who have a performance background, whether it's in theater or whatever, migrate to cabaret performance, because for a performer, it's this fantastic ability to be able to connect really closely with people and sing eye to eye. You can look them in the eye when you're singing. And so I think that's a cool, I loved your explanation. So I'm going to replay this video and steal that the next time.
Just take the ums and ahs out of it.
No, whatever, please. I'm sure I'm humming all over the place. So in full disclosure, Marianne and I had a little meeting earlier today to talk about a little bit about the technology tonight more than anything. But we also discussed what are we going to be drinking during tonight. So most of you who have watched many of these know that I normally am drinking a glass of wine, which Marianne, you have a glass of red wine, right?
I do.
Awesome. Cheers. I'm now drinking a Manhattan. I decided that we're talking about cabaret, so I'm going for, and it's in a nice traditional 1930s Nick and Nora glass. So I decided to go for a traditional cabaret cocktail. So cheers to you.
Cheers to you. And I told Tommy when we were talking, I'm so neurotic that when I get home for my glass of wine, I go to my selection of all the different colored glasses and choose one that matches my outfit.
You're even worse than me.
It's the little things.
Yeah, and
it's happy or crazy.
And we were talking. Marianne and I were talking earlier. She's obviously addicted to stemware, but I have the correct glass for every cocktail. I have different cocktail glasses. I have different wine glasses. I'm going to serve in what it should be served in. I mean, this would taste good in a, drinking out of a jar, but come on.
No, it does. It legitimately tastes better when you drink it out of the right vessel.
And the little Luxardo cherry in there. So
I love those at $15 a jar.
Yeah,
this
was a gift. This was a gift. All right, so obviously we can't keep talking about cocktails all night. Let's talk about what we're here for. Although Becky says don't let you have too much wine, Marianne. So Becky Murphy is giving us a warning. And Robert Johnson says Kate and Robert are toasting both of us.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely.
So Marianne, one of the as many people, Becky's been on this show, so she knows this. I don't really have any standard questions that I ask. I don't know what I'm going to ask you until it comes out of my mouth. Except I do have one question that I ask every guest on my show.
Yeah.
And here it is: when you were a little kid, when was it that you became excited about music, about performance, and when was there the point in your life where you said, "I really want to do this. I really want to make a career out of this"?
It was very early for me, Tommy. Two things. My mom swears. She used to declare that when a commercial would go on, she'd be ironing, to the soap operas, whatever, during the day. And when a commercial with music would come on, she could feel me in it rocking inside. And then she got me a rocking horse. And when I was a toddler, I'd be in the room while she was watching TV. And anytime a song came on, I would rock so hard to the rhythm of the beat that she thought I was going to go headlong through the TV. So it was early. And in my Petula Clark show, I tell a story where, Petula did her first solo at 7 years old on the BBC radio. And I also got my start at BBC, but it was the Brookfield Baptist Church. And, and we were Catholic, but I was kind of precocious and my mom needed something to do with me. So she sent me off with the neighbors to a vacation Bible school, and they called for someone to sing a solo. And I marched up and did my first solo at 6. I sang a song called He Lives. And the thrill of the rapt attention of the crowd, I mean, I was 6 years old. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I went home, and at 7, I marched over to the neighbor lady's house who I knew taught piano, knocked on her door and signed myself up for piano lessons. And Mrs. Gilbert called my mom and she said, are you aware that your daughter was here signing up for piano lessons today? My mom said, no, but it doesn't surprise me. When and how much is it going to cost? So it was certain and early for me. Thanks for asking.
That's awesome. The common theme of almost every person that I've asked this question to is supportive parents. And early on. It doesn't mean that it can't happen in other ways, but it seems like that's a big common denominator. In my case, nobody in my family was even remotely musical, honestly, except for me. But my mother and father were like, sure, we'll buy a piano, take piano lessons. I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. And just a quick shout out to Robert Johnson. Have Marianne send me an email about your mixology nights, because I will join that. I just wasn't aware of it. So.
Tommy, you will love it. It's Kate and Bob. Kate and they are phenomenal cooks and mixologists, and they throw a great party even online.
So send me an email and I will join your mixology night.
Will do.
So as far as performance is concerned, then what was your trajectory then as a performer? Did you go to college for music, or?
I did not. I actually I started in musical theater and choir and, small ensemble groups and that sort of thing. And we had the benefit. I went to Riverside Brookfield High School, and not far from where you live.
Yeah.
And we had a group it was out of the choir. It was 8 of us, 2 of each voice part, that would go out evenings and entertain at like women's clubs and social events. So I had we weren't getting paid. I think they probably paid some sort of honorarium to the school, but it was like a professional performance. So I would go to theater practicum class in the morning during summer school. Then we'd put on a children's play in the afternoon at the park districts. And then in the evening, I would go out with the RB singers and perform at sort of professionally. So that was where it started. And then when all of my friends were going off to college and lamenting the fact that they couldn't even get on stage for the first 2 years while they were doing all of their prerequisites, I thought, well, that's not for me. So I auditioned for my first professional play, a musical, and miraculously got hired as the lead. So I went straight from high school into professional theater, and then I did ultimately do college, but it was a piecemeal and over time. But then when I decided to go on the road, I auditioned for a road show, and I spent a year with a musical, all singing, all dancing musical group, again, for corporate events and that sort of thing. So I had that foundation. And then ultimately, when I came back to town and got the day job, thankfully I love my day job, but it's still a job, right? Then I got hired by a big band, a 13-piece band called the Dan Hayes Orchestra. And I sang with them for 22 years.
Wow. I had no idea. I had no idea.
I'm old, Tommy. What are you going to do?
Oh, honey, boy, I think you and I are contemporaries. So we'll just leave it there. When people say, like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, 32 years. Oh, God. I can't believe I've been doing this for 32 years.
Yeah. It's so good, though. It's so great. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after the big band, when did that gig end?
So it ended when my parents took ill sort of one right after the other. And when my dad passed, I became pretty much the caregiver for my mom. And I simply could not, between, a very much not a 40-hour a week day job, a big girl day job, and working 3 nights a weekend, and then some. It was a super, super busy band. I just couldn't. I felt like I was always either working, getting ready for work, or going to or coming from work, and it was denying me. I needed to take care of my mom. So I left the band, and I didn't sing for about a year. And when I decided I needed to make a change in my career, I saw a career coach, a woman in Naperville. She helped me a lot. And one of the things she did was she found out that I was a singer, and she sort of ascertained. She said, you know what, you're sad because you're not singing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about the lack of music in your life after a full life from age 6 to whatever I was at the time, in your 40s. You need to sing. And she had another coaching client who was a singer and who happened to be singing at a club in West Chicago. She gave me the information and said, you should go see this woman and check out this club. Well, I went. The person who was supposed to be singing wasn't, but Heather Moraine was the artist there.
Awesome.
And Heather went up on the lyrics. She was singing Girl from Ipanema. She got to the bridge and couldn't remember it. So I was sort of singing it to her, trying to help her. I caught her eye. She came over and put the microphone in front of my face. I sang the bridge. And then she called me over. She called me up to sing a couple of times. We became great friends. She introduced me to Chicago Cabaret professionals.
Mm-hmm.
That's now 11 years ago. And the rest has been a beautiful journey of discovering cabaret and meeting. You think when you're a full-grown adult, you have pretty much made your friends for your life. You've established your relationships. I have a whole world of wonderful friends and colleagues based on that random evening where the artist I went to see was not there. I credit Heather and my career coach for really sending me down an entirely new path. It's been a real thrill.
Yep. It's so funny because I moved to the Chicago area in 2008 in January, so 13 years ago, and became involved with CCP, the Chicago Cabaret Professionals, that same spring. But the way it happened, and Becky's on the call tonight, so she's going to remember this, maybe, but our mutual friend, Fred Eberly, I met Fred really early on when I first moved here, and he said, hey, there's this cool club called Gentry, and there's this amazing accompanist named Becky. You should grab some music and go to Gentry and start singing. You need to be singing. Yeah. So I went to Gentry one night and I had this extremely obscure piece of music that was like nobody knows, and went up and I started to explain it. And Becky goes, oh, I know it.
Right.
And like, of course. So I sang it and I sat back down and the people around us said, "Gosh, wow, you must have practiced that a lot with her." And I'm like, "No, I've never met her before."
Yeah.
They're like, "No." I'm like, "No, I've never met her." But that, that connection with Becky got me it connected to CCP. And
Yeah.
at that time, CCP was doing started doing shows at the Drury Lane Water Tower Theater,
Yes.
and I did a few of those, and that's how
I
I
was in
met.
one with you.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
That was right at the beginning of the time that you were in
Yep.
CCP, and so
Yep.
was I. So the same thing. I had this huge group of friends, and the same thing had happened to me in Boston before I moved here. I was on the board of the Boston Association of Cabaret Artists, and
Ah,
became friends with all these Boston cabaret singers who I would never have met
right.
any other way. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a family,
It is a
and
family.
and it's a dysfunctional family, like every family is.
Right? We call a song with Becky the 3-minute miracle, because she can play anything
Yes,
in
she can.
any key with or without music. I'm sure she would prefer to have the
Yes,
music.
it's
But
better.
I mean, she really, and it's an experience. I mean, I'm so blessed to be in Girls Like Us with Becky and Laura, because it's an experience every singer should have, to take a song that maybe you've sung 1,000 times, and it's completely different when you do it with Becky, because of
Yep.
the chord progressions that she hears. There's an orchestra in her head, and she can take you somewhere and it impacts the way that you interpret the lyrics. If it's something, if it takes it out of the regular and moves
Yes.
it into something new and fresh and special, it's a glorious experience. I highly recommend it
Well, and
to any singers on the
and and
call.
and like another shout out to Becky. One of the things that I love about her sensibility is the ability to pick find a way to merge songs together that you normally
Yes.
would think would never in a million years be a medley,
Yeah.
yet it happens. So
Yeah.
there are two comments that I want to throw up on the screen for you. A shout out to you from Kate Lawrence that says, "You are an expert at storytelling and captivating as a singer,
Oh, lovely.
Marianne."
Thank you,
And then
Kate.
a question from Mary Cuny. Have you ever done Jacques Brel?
I really have not. I mean, how can you be a cabaret artist and not have done Jacques Brel? But I mean,
I haven't either. So
didn't he write not The
that
Wind Was
song, the Carousel song, which
Carousel,
is
the Carousel
yeah,
song. Yeah,
which is
that's it.
frigging
That's my Brel.
amazing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the best version of that song that I have ever seen live was about, oh gosh, I can't remember how many years ago it
Mm,
was. I had Chita Rivera perform at our theater, and
mm,
she, at that point she was 80 years old,
yeah.
and she sang a version of that song that, honest to God, at the end there was a moment of silence in the
Yeah.
audience. It was like
Yeah.
stunned silence before
Yeah.
everybody jumped to their feet and started to shout. It was
I
one of those
love
rare
that.
theatrical moments where you're like, who is she channeling?
Yeah.
Because it was so spectacular. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful song. You and I need to do Jacques Brel sometime.
Yeah, maybe that should be our duet show. I think that is one of the moments. I know I'm crooked because my headset's so tight, and I'm going
That's
to
okay.
put these glasses on and off. When there is that moment of silence, when you finish a song, and it isn't the obligatory, yeah, it people are so caught up that there's a
Yeah.
and then the applause. Oh, that's to me, that's better than a standing ovation, when they're
Oh,
so engaged and
yes.
so moved that they almost forget to clap, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to clap. Don't get me wrong.
Please clap. Please clap. Clap, clap. There we go. Applause. Okay, so because you brought it up, I really want to talk. We're going to move around in this interview, but I want to talk about Girls Like Us, because the
Yes.
first time that you performed at my theater, I think, was in one of those Girls Like Us performances,
Yeah.
correct?
It was probably our, sort of our, it was I just lost the word. Um,
Your
the
debut.
show yeah, the show that gave us our brand, Girls Like
Yeah,
Us,
it was
which
it
is
was in fact the first one,
yeah,
because we've had the Girls Like Us, I think, 3 times now.
yeah,
So they're the original one.
yeah.
And then
Then we did It's My Party, which is
yes,
the chicks of the 60s.
yep, we did that
And
one.
I think we did Barbara, Bet, and Bernadette.
No, we
No?
haven't done that one.
Okay.
But
Maybe
there's
we
been
did Evolution of the Girl
that's
Groups?
it. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah,
So you've
yeah.
done those 3. So we have to
Yeah.
bring the a Bet and Bernadette show at some
Oh,
point.
you'll love it. It's terrific.
So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about Girls Like Us, but I'm going to throw up a quick video of the 3 of you in Girls Like Us. It's
Okay.
a short clip from WGN, correct? When
Yes.
you were
Oh.
on the WGN. So I'm going to throw that up, and then we'll play that through, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So hold on just a second. I'm going to do a share screen here.
Lovely.
Lord, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind. Your love is the key to my peace of mind. 'Cause you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman. Oh, baby, what you done to me? What you done to me? You make me feel so good inside. So good inside. And I just wanna be close to you. You make me feel so alive. 'Cause you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman.
Oh, I love those girls.
That was awesome. I love that. Sorry about that. Getting the Tribune Tower there at the
I
end.
think it's cool.
That's all right. So that's cool. And did I just noticed watching that again? Did you all coordinate your bling because you all had amazing?
Of course we did. We're
Hershey.
girls, Tommy.
Oh dear God, Marianne, I'm a gay man, so of course I know that.
Well, we'll let you coordinate your bling too then with us.
Awesome. So talk to me a little bit about what is Girls Like Us. So what is it first, and how did it start?
Girls Like Us is our little trio, sometimes just the 3 of us, and as I said, Becky is the one-person orchestra, and we'll throw in the odd, percussion instrument or that sort of thing. Sometimes we'll go out with a small combo. Sometimes Erwin Berkowitz, Becky's beloved, is our drummer. But we can go out in different configurations. We have 6 shows that people select from, and I think that it's 3. We are 3 solo artists with careers in our own right, but we are able to subvert, I guess, our own egos and needs in service to the group and in service to the show. So there is 0 conflict. 3 divas, strong personalities, lots of opinions, our own brands, and we have just an absolutely beautiful harmony, both personally and in terms of vocally. And the way that it started is that Becky cast both Laura and I in a Christmas show for the city of Chicago. And we just discovered, I think we did Hard Candy Christmas, and we discovered that we had a really nice blend.
Mhm.
And our voices are so different. I mean, Becky's and mine are a little more similar than Laura's is to either of us, because she's that big, bright belt soprano that every woman wants to be, and probably some men too, as you rightly point out. But when we sing together, it's almost hard to rehearse because you record it and you can't figure out who's singing what. There's a chameleon quality to the harmony. And then we each bring our own kind of humor, our own acting backgrounds, our own personal stories to the music. And there's a musicianship, so we all three read and we all three have, pretty good ears that allows us to really explore. You don't just have to learn things by rote. You can explore, and we build arrangements around Becky's piano. As you said, she's the genius of the mashups and the medleys. We can build these things together, and it's worked out really well for us. As I say, 6 shows and 10 or 11 years now in, we continue to work together, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite part of my career now is working with girls like us.
So going back to the original show, what was the sort of inspiration for that first Girls Like Us show for the three of you to say, "Hey, let's do this"?
Yeah, there's a book called Girls Like Us. It was written Weller, last name Weller. It's a story about the confluence of the careers of Carole King, Carly Simon, and Joni Mitchell. There are all kinds of connecting points that above and beyond the troubadour and that sort of thing in California. A couple of us read it, and to be honest, I had done the show once before. I had directed the show with a couple of other singers years before we started Girls Like Us, and I thought we need to explore this in a new way. Once we'd read the book and thought about the material that some of us already do, so we built the show based on that. So the story, some of the patter comes from the Girls Like Us book, and then it's a complete reimagining of the original show that I directed.
Yep. So, it's one of the things I love about the Girls Like Us brand, what you've done with that show, is that you are all solo singers. And that one of the difficulties of 3 like really robust solo singers getting together to do a group show is exactly what you said, is that there's very often this conflict of how do the voices meld together, or who's on first,
who's doing the lead? No, you just did the lead on the last one.
Exactly.
I mean,
and I don't see that in your show at all. I never sense that. And what amazed me the first time I saw your show is that I've seen all of you before that solo, and I never thought that your 3 voices would blend like that. I mean, I knew that you're all professional and you could make it work, but I never really believed that it could blend so seamlessly as it does. And you're right. It's like one voice.
Yeah.
At times. It's really a beautiful thing.
Thank you, Tommy. It is. And one of the reasons there isn't any conflict over who gets to sing more songs or the lead in this or that is that it's such a pleasure singing the backup harmonies. Like I have no burning need to be the lead on any of it. I live for harmony,
Yes.
So just do what you're going to do. But also there's a humility, again, not to put too fine a point on it, but Becky and Laura are stars. I mean, they're just brilliant performers and lovely people. And we do say, "Oh, no, you sound so great on that song. No, you should do it. You love that song." It was sort of the opposite, the antithesis of the egos. You have to fight it. So it's a pleasure.
Oh my God. So those of us who do what I do for a living as a presenter love performers like you, because the last thing we want is some diva performer that always needs to be center stage. Because I'm like, that's going to make my poor backstage crew have a horrible day
right.
at the theater. I'm like, yeah, sorry. Because those are the people that want all the brown M&Ms and
right.
We're not going to go into that. So thanks for that. It's time for a quick refill. I'm gonna
all right.
pour a second Manhattan. If you want to pour some more red wine.
I just happen to have a bottle present.
I know we planned this in advance. So I've got a full Manhattan. So one more cheers, Marianne. Cheers for joining me.
Tommy.
Happy New Year.
Cheers, everyone.
Although I avoid politics in this, I'm going to say cheers to tomorrow's inauguration.
Amen, my friend.
There we go. That's
a
all we'll say.
Collective unclenching.
Mm-hmm. That's all we'll say.
Yes, sir.
So we've talked about Girls Like Us, and I think you said you had 6 shows. So in my head, I'm like, oh crap, I only know 3 of them. What are your 6 shows? Can you? I hate to put you on the spot, but what are your 6
Will
shows?
I be able to? Okay, so we talked about Girls Like Us. It's My Party, Evolution of the Girl Groups,
Those 3 I've done.
Yeah, the Barbara Bette and Bernadette tribute. We have Miscast, which is actually the first show we did. I sort of skipped one little chapter of that, which is we were singing together in Becky's Christmas show for the city. And then we decided, along with Denise McGowan Tracy, to do a show called Miscast, which was songs that we as women never shoulda, woulda, coulda, roles we never could have played. So it's all Broadway material sung from the perspective of a woman in a role that she's probably too young, too old, too black, too white for.
Yeah.
So that was the very first one. Did I get 6? I think so. Anyway, that's what turned us into a.
Becky, I'm sure Becky will type it in so that I will.
Will you, Beck?
There you go. So let's talk a little bit now about your solo career as a cabaret singer. So when was the first time that you crafted your own cabaret show? What was your first cabaret gig as a solo performer?
Now that you say that, I keep saying it's 11 years, but it's actually 12 because it was 2008. And I met Daryl Nitz through CCP and through Heather Moran. And I wanted to do a Karen Carpenter show. I love her voice. It's one of my top 3 favorite voices in the world. And Daryl suggested that I needed a director since I had not done cabaret before. And it was pointed out to me that having been a big band singer for 22 years, I do ballads like this. You don't ever not smile when you're with a 13-piece dance band. You don't not smile and swing, right?
Exactly.
So
I get it.
I needed a little coaching to have a sad face and stand still when I was singing a ballad. So Daryl directed my Karen Carpenter show. We called it If I Were a Carpenter. He did a wonderful job. From that experience, I learned how to craft my own shows, and I learned how to direct other people's shows, which I've had the pleasure of doing for a number of people. Sophie Grimm, I did her first show, and Duncan Moore. But yeah, I learned a ton from Daryl about how to think about. One of the things that I learned from him, interestingly, is that I have a song. One of my all-time favorite songs is "Bless the Beasts and the Children."
Mm-hmm.
And in crafting the show and developing the arc, the beginning and the middle and the end, and choosing the material, I kept finding that song did not fit anywhere in the allotted time. It didn't fit right in the story, and I had to cut it. And you have to do that. Sometimes you have to edit because it doesn't fit with the piece. It doesn't glide you through the arc to the finish that you want. And so I don't know that I've ever even performed that song, but it was a great experience. We sold out. It was 4 nights. We sold out all 4 nights. And I thought when I walked in that first night, I was down in the dressing room. I didn't want to look at the books. At Davenport, you can go and look at the book to see who's, the reservations. Or, people come up and they peek through the little porthole window and see. I thought, I just can't. I don't want to know. If there's nobody, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to sing. And so as I came up the stairs, I could hear this rabble. I could hear this crowd in the room. It turns out my band leader and his wife, who are a crowd unto themselves, Dan and Nancy Nixon, were in the room engaging with everyone, stimulating conversation. But, I walked into thunderous applause. Becky calls it our codependent show. When your friends and your family come who've never seen you perform, they come to support you emotionally, even though they don't know if you can sing a note. But it was, I was hooked. I mean, the addiction, you just mainline that shit, right? Pardon my French.
Yeah.
When you have a first experience like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think everybody at some point in their cabaret career does one show that's slightly too autobiographical, yet, but then they get it out of their system and they're good.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. And and you have the quality of your voice actually sits really well with those Karen Carpenter kind of songs. You've got more range, I think, than she certainly had, but there's a quality there that I think is cool. So
I'm an alto.
Yeah, yeah. But you got
It
some
is.
range. You got alto with some range, I get that, Um,
Yeah, thank you.
so the we talked a lot about Chicago Cabaret Professionals, which is an organization in Chicago. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I know about it, but tell the audience a
Yeah.
little bit about that. And then I want to show the clip that we have of you performing at the gala.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, we've been around for, I guess, it's about 21 years now. Seems like we did our 20-year gala last year or the year before. And I say we, of course, I'm not one of the founding members. Several of the founders are still either, on the board or they're
Mhm.
members. And it's an organization that really furthers and helps to protect the fragile art of cabaret in Chicago. So, it isn't because we play in small, intimate venues, you're not going to make a lot of money as an artist, and even the club is not going to make a lot of money. And of course, the money that they make so that the artist can afford to continue to work in this genre is on drinks. Right. So there's a 2-drink minimum. It's not a
Yeah,
super cheap evening out. So you really need to tend to the art and make sure that we expand the reach and the audience for cabaret, and also nurture not the careers necessarily, but the skills and the art form among the members. So we offer learning opportunities. How do you build a show? How do you promote a show? We've had social media marketing training. We've had when sort of celebs, cabaret celebrities like Karen Mason and Katie Sullivan, folks like that come into town. They typically will have hold a master class.
mhm.
Lena Katrakis comes every summer, as you know, and I've had the privilege to sit in that. And that's Lena's really the other person that I credit with showing me how to not smile and move, really understanding that you want to, from an emotional perspective, you want to get your toes right up against the line. You don't want to cry. You want to feel it. You want to birth it for the first time, sing it like you've never sung it before, but just get right up against the line so that the audience doesn't feel they have to protect or worry about you. They can go through their own range of
Yeah.
emotions. So those are some of the things that we want to help people to do so that they can, and we do some producing, of course. We do the gala and we do the series at Victory Gardens, formerly Drury Lane, but that's not really the mission. The mission is to expand cabaret, keep it alive and
Mhm.
thriving, and aid the careers of our members.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Boston Association that I was a member of as well. I mean, that's the whole focus, is trying to keep it going, keep it
Yeah.
alive.
Yep.
And just to respond to one of our viewers tonight, Mary Cuny asked, "Am I familiar with Claudia Hamel?" Yes, I am familiar. Claudia
Yeah.
Hamel is a mutual friend of all of us in the community, and she has a real specialty in French cabaret and French
Yes.
songs. So yeah, so
Yes.
I'm very cognizant of her.
We
So
know
what I want to
everyone
share.
knows Claudia. She's one of the founding members of Chicago Cabaret.
Yep. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to show the clip of you performing. This is a gala performance. So every year, the Chicago Cabaret Professionals, as a nonprofit organization, holds a gala in the fall. There's generally some kind of reward given to someone or a group of more than one person who are significant in the cabaret community. But a lot of the Chicago area cabaret performers will perform as part of the fundraising gala. And this particular clip, I love, Marianne, because when you sent it to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is a song that I've queued it up after your intro. So I'm going to give a little bit of the backstory. Is what Marianne says before this starts is that this was part of a Secret Santa kind of thing, where somebody in the community who knows you suggests a song that you have not performed to their knowledge, but that they think would fit in your voice.
Yeah.
And this particular song is one that I have loved for so long, because Nancy Lamott,
Yes.
who was a stunning cabaret performer who died far too young.
Yes.
But she recorded the song, and I remember the
Yes.
first time I heard it, I fell in love with the song. And almost nobody I know has ever sung it, and you sing it tonight. So I'm gonna cue up this song, and we'll talk a little bit about the gala afterwards.
Okay.
Oh, I discovered I queued it up without sound, so we're going to start it again. So, oops, sorry, people. I am not a technical person, so hold on just a second.
I was sending you a note. Tommy, I don't think it's on.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to, hold on, let me queue back up.
And Becky just wrote in, the other show is the holiday show. You were right.
Yes.
The 6th show is the holiday show.
All right, cool. So I've got it queued up again. We're going to try this again. Thank you, everybody. So we're gonna share the screen, and look, I can click the little button that says share audio. Oops. Yeah, no, I am not technical, so
You're
here we go.
good. No worries.
So before I mute us, can you hear?
Yes.
Good.
Courted and escorted by so many men. As for fear of cold rejection, I've had none. There were avant-garde composers, even D's and Dems and dozers. It was fun. But among the many faces and the whiskey breath embraces, there was one. It was not exactly Paris. It was not exactly spring. But it was Beaujolais and flowers, double beds and double showers, and the passion that his kisses used to bring. It was not exactly Paris. I was not exactly young. But on a quiet night, with the door locked tight, silence weighs a ton. Of all the men in my life, I remember one. It was not exactly Venice. Never heard a mandolin, but it was kisses and linguini, set to Mercer and Mancini. It was boating in the park and falling in. It was not exactly marriage. Didn't have the longest run. But in my heart of hearts, when the twilight starts and the long, long day is done, of all the loves in my life, I remember one.
There we go.
It's a lovely song, and it was my little present from Joan Curto was the one who selected that song for me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Joan, we've had Joan on this show, and I have Joan coming up in later on in our season. So
Yeah.
that particular song is one that so many people don't know.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. Have you kept that in your repertoire? I
Oh,
hope
yes.
you have.
I
I
have.
hope you have, because you do such a beautiful, beautiful job of that song, and it
Thank you.
sits in a really smoky part of your voice, that really luscious lower smoky register that you can get into, which I love.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I was just listening to it thinking I probably should have taken that up a step. But so I'm glad to hear you liked
No,
it
well,
smoky.
the thing is, you could do it up a step because it would be great up a step, but you're right, it's low. It's low. Now, Nancy Lamott was like a friggin' baritone, I
Yes.
swear, but with a range above that. But yeah. So if anybody who doesn't know Nancy Lamott should look her up because
Yes.
she was a phenomenal performer, and so many of the songs that were written for her have become standard repertoire in for all of us in the cabaret community. So
Yeah,
awesome
absolutely.
stuff. So the one of the other things that you talked to me about that in the cabaret community in 4 weeks from now we have Hillary Feldman on the show, but to talk about acts of kindness cabaret.
Yeah.
But you have been part of that cabaret thing. So tell us a little bit about AOK Cabaret and what it is, and I'm going to show a quick clip after that of you performing for them.
Sure. It's a brilliant idea. Of course, Hillary Feldman is the founder and artistic director, and she wanted to find a way to contribute. It's not like musicians have big fat checkbooks that they can write. So really leveraging her talent and the talent of her colleagues was a way that some of us can give back without writing a big fat check. So it's all as you know, it's all professional musicians, professional singers, and she puts together what she calls a show in a box. So if we are a not-for-profit who performs for other not-for-profits so that they can sell tickets to the show and raise money for their organizations. So really when they buy the show, we provide the theme, the programs, the tickets, the material, the marketing, the whole 9 yards, lights, sound, professionals to run them. So it's an unbelievably great deal. So, very low cost. The singers donate their time. It's a very low cost for an organization to be able to sell tickets at a good price and actually raise some money. And the organization has raised over $350,000 for local charities since its founding. So it's something that we're really proud of.
Yep, and I've performed in an
Yes.
AOK show, so
Yes.
I'm a
this.
convert. I've done there. I've donated my time to them as well.
Yes.
So I'm going to do a quick share of Marianne singing a song that actually sort of keys into your Petula Clark show, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to do a quick screen, and I'm going to remember to click the right button this time. So here we go.
You got it.
Wait, share audio. I'm clicking the button now. People can't see it, but I'm doing it.
Before we know it, we'll all be together again. Live events, going out.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go where? Yes, when you've got worries, all the noise and the hurry seem to help, I know. Where? Just listen to the rhythm of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalks where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose? The lights are much brighter there. You can forget all your troubles, forget all your cares, and go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. Don't wait a minute more. Downtown, everything's waiting for you. Very nice.
This is our first ever virtual fundraiser.
Much fun when the audience participates like that. I just love when they sing along.
Yep. And a song like Downtown, who doesn't know that song?
Right.
And of a certain age, all of us, like, that's part of our, like, our cultural heritage,
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit because we're coming close to the end of it's funny because one of the things that people always ask me when they're a guest on the show is like, how can we talk for an hour? I'm like, believe me, it'll happen. So as I want to talk a little bit about your solo shows, but you're on our schedule. We cannot confirm or nor deny the actual date of Marianne's show. We think it's going to be on April the 18th, please God.
Yes.
But if not, it'll happen. It'll happen a little bit later. But this one is a tribute to Dolly Parton. So
Yes.
I want to hear a little bit about your Dolly Parton show that's going to be at our theater and what we can expect, those of us who have tickets to that show.
Okay. So Dolly, of course, happy birthday, Dolly. It was her 75th birthday today.
Today, that's awesome.
Today.
What? Cheers! Happy birthday to
Cheers.
Dolly
Happy
Parton.
birthday to Dolly. She's the ultimate. And I tend to wait. You have to drink if you cheers, right? So
Mhm. Yep.
I
For
tend
everybody
to
who doesn't
be.
know, it's bad luck if you cheers and put your glass down. You need to
That's
cheers,
right.
drink, and then put your glass down. Just telling you.
Absolutely. It's important.
It's
Um,
important.
so I tend to lean, I tend to admire polyglots and multi-talented people, Renaissance people. So the shows that I do tend to be people like Petula Clark or Dolly Parton, where they are singers, songwriters, musicians. They write movie scores and they're philanthropists and actors and that sort of thing. So that was the case for Petula, and that certainly is the case for Dolly. And she's had a hit in every decade for the last 6 decades. Right. And 10 Grammy awards. She's written 3,000 songs, 700 of which have been recorded. So there's plenty of material to choose from. And there's material. I also like when you can use material that people know, because of course you don't want to go to a show and have it all be, what's this? But you also, it's a pleasure to be introduced to a new song from a known artist. So we try to mix it up, and there will be a couple of things that you don't know are attributed to Dolly Parton. Also, I don't wander very far from my musical sisters, Laura and Becky, so they will be present. Becky will be leading the band. And we have a little band, which is really fun also, guitar, bass, drums. And Laura has been kind enough to say that she'll direct and she'll sing. And so we'll do, Dolly had done 2 trios. She did one early on with Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn. And then later she did the trio with Linda. She did a trio album with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris.
Yep, I love that album. That's
Ugh.
one of my favorite of all time albums.
Yeah, I mean, it's just beautiful. And so we love the harmony. We'll be doing in the first act and in the second act, a small little Girls Like Us with those trio songs.
Cool.
So it'll be stories about her life, things that, I mean, right now it's all Dolly all the time for the last year or so, right? So
Yeah,
everybody knows
isn't it? She's been really in the news lately.
she's always doing. She's constantly reinventing herself. She's always doing something important in the world. Just donated $1 million to the Moderna vaccine. She's just gave away her 130 millionth book through the Imagination Library. Some of the stuff will be. I'm giving you my patter a little early, but I so admire her. We have all these tropes, these slogans that we use now. She believed she could, so she did. Well, Dolly's the original. She graduated from high school and people said, "What are you going to do?" She said, "I'm going to Nashville to be a star." And they laughed. Well, who's laughing now? And everything she's decided to do, she's the biggest employer in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. The graduation rate at her high school has gone from 30% dropout rate to 6% since she got involved. This woman is a doer. She's a walk the walk, talk the talk woman. And so the fact that she also writes beautiful songs and is a great singer
Yeah.
makes it a very easy choice for a show.
Well, I love one of the quotes that I love from Dolly Parton is that quote about the fact that she's never offended when people call her a dumb blonde because she
Right.
knows she's not dumb and she knows she's not blonde.
Yeah. You've just heard one of my jokes from my.
Oh, sorry, I stole
No.
one of your jokes. But
No, it's all good. And now I'm not blonde anymore. As you'll see, I was a pre-COVID blonde, but I am now flat out gray. This is my real color. What do you think, Tommy?
I love it. It's funny because I was like a towhead. I was like a white blonde child.
Yeah.
So my blonde hair looked like that when I was a kid. And now not so much. I shaved it off because of the male pattern baldness and all of that crap. But yeah, the blonde, I like that light blonde thing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of comments here about the fact that people love Dolly and they love you. So Jan Slavin loves Dolly and Marianne.
I love Jan Slavin.
And I love Jan Slavin too. Jan Slavin is awesome. And I love Kathy Glickman and Cheryl Suzette, who just all responded to us. And thank you, Vala Vunicki, for your wonderful comment about there you go. Fabulous, she said about your performance.
I can't, you guys, I'm not responding. I'll get back to you later because I can't chew gum and walk at the same time.
Marianne and I both lamented earlier that we can't see the comments that you're doing without putting on our glasses.
And my headset is so tight that it's an ordeal to get them on and
Thank
off.
God I have these little in-ear buds, so I can actually put the glasses on without hitting the buds. So yeah, it's an age thing, folks. And I know it's just a number. It's just a number, but it's a number that starts to add up over time.
Yes.
So, Marianne, we're coming to the end of our time together, but I would love to know, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up tonight?
Gosh, I think, let me look at my notes, Tommy.
Yeah, Marianne took notes, of course. And I have to say, since Becky is on tonight, Becky, your ears should have been burning today because Marianne and I were talking about the fact that I was so excited that when I asked her to log in at 6:45, she logged in at like 6:40. So early is on time. On time is late.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
That's a Becky and Tommy thing.
Early is on
late.
time. So there we go.
So so the last thing I'll do, first of all, thank you so much, everybody who stopped by and commented and listened. I was really nervous. I was nervous, like who wants to talk, who wants to hear me yabber for an hour? But I'm so glad people came. Thank you for having me, Tommy. And the one fun thing that I love, and this is so Dolly, is that Elvis Presley, another little piece of patter, Elvis Presley wanted to sing "I Will Always Love You." And but he would only do it if he got half of the publishing rights. And Dolly said, that has been a hit already, and that's for my family. That money is for my family. She is such a family person. She raised two of her younger siblings herself when her parents couldn't handle them. So Elvis never got. I mean, it would have been fabulous. She loved him. She was so sad to say no, but she was not giving up that money that she had set aside for her family. So that's what I'd like to close with. Is Dolly is a treasure. Happy birthday to her. And I so hope this show comes off sooner than later, Tommy.
Oh, God, me too. And for everybody out there, the show is scheduled for Sunday, April the 19th. Fingers crossed. We don't know if it's going to happen, but in the next few weeks, we'll actually know if that's going to happen or not. But if not, it will be rescheduled. So it's not going to not happen. So all of you who want to see the Dolly Parton show, it's going to happen.
Stay tuned.
It just may be in a format and at a time that is not maybe in our black box theater. It might be an outdoor show. It might be, I don't know. Marianne and I will have this conversation if we need to. But but understand, all of you out there who are fans of the Performing Arts Center, that we are doing our best to figure out the best way to get live performance back on our stages, but safely for the audience and safely for our staff and safely for the performers. And if that means we have to postpone things again for the 47,000th time, it feels like, then I will take a deep breath and I will postpone again. My therapist and I have talked about this a lot. I'm stressed about this. This stresses me out. This stresses me out. I just I want performance to happen again on our stage, but I'm sure all of you do. So thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Marianne, I'm going to take you out of the broadcast for just a minute. Please stay around. We'll chat for a little bit afterwards. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Marianne, you've been like one of the most delightful guests ever. Perhaps the Manhattan and the red wine have helped with that. And despite the one negative comment we got earlier about politics, whatever, that person can go away. And I honestly, I have to tell you, I don't care about people who, if anyone is offended that I am happy about tomorrow's inauguration, then I don't need them to watch my broadcast. So there you go. So complain to the college president all you want. I don't care. So thank you, Marianne. I'm going to be back to you in just a few minutes. Thanks. So everybody, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. In 2 weeks, we're going to be back with another amazing cabaret performer. David Edelfelt is our guest in the next performance. And David has never been on our stages before in cabaret, but he's going to be coming up soon, we hope. with a tribute to Broadway baritones. And if you don't know David's work, go online and Google him. He is amazing. He's a phenomenal performer. So I look forward to seeing you all again for the next Meet the Artist in 2 weeks. And in 4 weeks, we have Hilary Feldman, who is the creator of AOK Cabaret. And then in 6 weeks, we have Joan Curto, who is an amazing performer who has been on our stage before, who is coming back again soon. So please stay tuned for our upcoming broadcasts. We look forward to seeing all of you. And now I'm going to sign off for tonight, and thank you all for joining us tonight.